excited to talk to you more about Clean the World and just my experience. I'll run through a brief presentation, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you have towards the end of the presentation about Clean the World, marketing, or anything that you're interested in. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get started. All right, perfect. So you should be able to see my presentation. Good? Everybody's good? All right, awesome. Great. So just to give you a little bit more background into myself, as Christian mentioned, I have been in marketing and advertising for about 20 years now. I actually graduated from UCF and started on the path towards my career at Cox Radio, which is a local radio station here in Orlando. And I started in advertising on that side. I've worked for some large and medium businesses as well as very small businesses. So through my career of 20 years, I've worked for companies that are, just me, myself, and one other person on the marketing team. I've worked for big corporations like Google, Nokia, Navtech, which is a big mapping company, and then as well as a company called Channel Intelligence that eventually got actually purchased by Google. So I went through the whole Google acquisition. It was a small business here in Orlando that actually got acquired. So I went through that whole process, and then ended up serving on the Google product marketing team for Google Shopping. So for those of you that might go on and look for, products or things on Google, they actually have what's called a product listing ad. And so I actually worked for that department for a number of years. And then went to a company called Cambridge Mobile Telematics, which is based in Boston. That's a technology company where I was employee number 15 when I started. And then we ended up, when I left, there was about 100 or so employees. So I started it from, just myself only being the director of marketing there until later on. Now they have a whole team of marketing people. And then I've worked for Clean the World for about 4 years now. So I actually worked with a person, her name is Anne. She actually was in the accounting department when we worked together previously, and then through networking, I noticed there was a position open for marketing, came over. And within about 2 weeks, I actually took over product development and technology. So I oversee both all marketing, technology, all communications, product development for all the products, things that we have going on at Clean the World. And my title is Chief Experience Officer. So basically anything that has to do with customer experience from start to finish kind of falls under me. So very, very excited to talk to you about Clean the World and all of the wonderful things that we're doing. And so I'll kind of get started on the presentation. So Clean the World actually is headquartered right here in Orlando. So many of you have probably heard of us before, but it is actually a social enterprise. So a lot of people think it's a nonprofit organization, which it is. It does have a nonprofit side to it, but it also has what's called a benefit corporation as well. So a B Corp or benefit corporation is like any other corporation that you can work for. The only difference is that benefit corporation's entire responsibility is to deliver social impact to its people that they serve. So it's a corporation that acts just like a regular corporation. We have revenue, we have products and services that we deliver to our customers, but the end user is the direct result of those people that we serve. So in this case, our end users are those that are experiencing homelessness, those that are in at-risk communities that are in need of hygiene or education as far as hand washing education and things like that. And then so the way that we work is we have the benefit corporation, which manages all the product development, administration, all of that stuff. And then the foundation, which is the nonprofit side, actually delivers the mission programming. And we'll talk a little bit more as we kind of go through the process. But for me, I actually oversee the communication and marketing for both entities. So I'm constantly switching voices. So you talk about it from a marketing perspective, I have to be well-versed in both the for-profit side as well as the nonprofit side. And so our main social enterprise, we're basically about improving health, transferring lives through ongoing WASH programs, which are water, sanitation, and hygiene, and then really serving those at-risk communities globally. And kind of how we got started was back in 2009, our founder and CEO, his name is Sean Seipler. He actually was working for a tech company where he was traveling about 4 days out of the week, going in and out of hotels constantly. And he worked for one of the largest retailers in the world. So he was actually working for Target at the time, and working on their account, and was in and out of a hotel room, a lot of times. So one night he kind of thought to himself, like, what do they do with the little bars of soap when he checks out of the hotel? And he called down to the front desk and realized that those little bars of soap actually get thrown away every single day. And so they go right into the landfill. And so he thought to himself, he did some math and figured out there were 4.6 million hotel rooms at the time, just in the United States alone. And if every single one of those hotels actually threw away their soap bars, there would be over 1 million bars a day that would actually go right into landfills. So it was something that, he thought that was a lot of waste. A lot of times, if you think about it, you may have used the bar of soap one time, sometimes shampoo, conditioner, things like that. You may not have even opened it while you were staying. So at that point, he started working on figuring out, what can you do with those bars of soap? Can you recycle them? Can you reuse them? And so he did some more research and realized that at the time, there were over 9,000 children that were dying every single day because of lack of hygiene. And so hygiene is one of these things, that's a little bit, as we've seen with COVID, it's definitely top of mind for a lot of us. But you probably have no issues getting soap. You would go down the local store, you get your bar of soap or your shampoo. But for many people, they don't have access to it. And it's not something that's covered under government subsidy programs. So you can't just go down and get, use some sort of government aid to actually get these products. So that's kind of where we come in. And so the idea is that, if we get these things that are in hotels that are not used, we could get them into hands of people in need, then we could help save children's lives. And hygiene related illnesses are definitely one of the, things that really affect this population, especially those that are at risk in, poverty or experiencing homelessness. So he basically went to work. So he called up some family members. They started in a one-car garage right here in Orlando, and they started figuring out how could they recycle the soap. So they would sit down on upside down pickle buckets. They would scrape the outside of the soap, get it clean, and it would go through a series of filters to melt it down, sanitize it, get it really clean, and then they would reprocess it into brand new bars. And so they actually started the process with hotels locally in the area, and have now grown to include way beyond the one-car garage, which I'll kind of talk a little bit about. So their first kind of distribution, there was an earthquake in Haiti, and they showed up with 2,000 bars of soap at a local church that was there in Haiti. And you can kind of see when they got there, this is the scene that they actually came to. So there was about 10,000 people that showed up that day that were in need of soap, and they had only had about 2,000 bars there. So as you can imagine, when those bars of soap, those boxes opened, it was like a feeding frenzy. Everybody was going and everybody was trying to get those bars of soap. And that was a really significant time period for Clean the World, because that was kind of our first distribution trip and our first really understanding of how important soap was, especially to people that are living in kind of a difficult situation. So he basically made a commitment that anytime he would ever go back, he would bring hundreds of thousands of bars of soap or 1 million bars of soap to distribute. And so that's just kind of the way that we got started. At the time, the local media actually picked us up. We ended up getting onto a story, actually Fox 35, and some CNN reporters and things picked things up. And at that point, it started realizing that, this was something that was important. And the hotels started acting, calling and saying, how can I help? How can I support this? And that's kind of how we got started, with the hotels, and getting this program into something that actually would be something that would be a program that would support the people that we're serving. And so that's kind of how we got started. Today, we are actually a global operation. We have facilities in 5 different locations. Not only do we have Orlando, which is a big warehouse down here close to the airport, which I would encourage you, once kind of COVID goes away, I would love for you guys to come and visit. It's a very big facility, and it's something that you would be very impressed to see. Especially after starting at a one-car garage, kind of to see the facility now. We also have a location in Las Vegas. That's another recycling center. We've been there since about 2010. And we've also opened locations in Canada, the Netherlands, Hong Kong. We're getting ready to open one in mainland China, and then also Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. So now we're in all these different locations, and we're all recycling soap in all these different locations. And so the goal is now basically we can serve the entire global community with our soap distribution. So our programs have actually been across 8,000 properties. So there's, you can see kind of the different people that are actually, using our program as far as our hotel recycling program. We have a lot of what's called a brand standard, which is basically when a hotel and all of their brands would implement a program across all of the brands and all the properties. And so that's one way that we, kind of, add a bunch of different hotels all at once. But you see some of the largest hotels are definitely part of our customer base. This kind of shows the history of Clean the World. You can kind of see, you kind of see here the 12-year history starting in 2009 with the hotel recycling program. 2012, we actually started what's called a hygiene kit program. And this is where we would work with different organizations to build hygiene kits. They would come together in like a team building experience, work together to build these kits, and you add things like soap, shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, and an inspirational note card. And then those individual hygiene kits can go domestically to people in need, especially, shelters and things like that. In 2017, we actually started our Fresh Start Wash and Wellness, which was our very first mobile shower unit, which I'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later here. And then in 2019, we actually opened a soap museum, which is kind of interesting. We have a soap museum in our facility in Orlando. We had a couple, they came and donated a whole bunch of memorabilia to us. It's amazing to see the types of things that are in there, everything from advertisements to soap wraps, to soap molds, and all kinds of different things. So I would encourage you, especially in marketing, to come see it, because it's definitely more like a history of advertising, and it's really interesting to see, and it's completely free. So, once we kind of open back up fully, it's something I would encourage you to visit. We also, in 2020, as you all know, we experienced COVID, and we had to kind of figure out how to adapt. And the majority of our revenue comes from hospitality partners, as well as our event partners, at least from the for-profit side. And, with people not visiting hotels, people not doing events, it really hurt our revenue really, a lot. And so it was something that we struggled with, especially in March of last year. So we were trying to figure out, how do we continue to deliver impact? How do we continue to, go out and serve, but then also be able to have the revenue to be able to support our team, continue to keep employees and things like that. So we actually developed something called the Soap Saves Lives box. So taking the same concept with hygiene kit builds, instead of people coming together and building these, we actually created a box that everything fit in, and these boxes can now be shipped to a home. And so you, as your family, as you're quarantining, you can actually build these kits from the comfort of your home, and then those can then go to support your local communities or local charities. And we had a lot of corporate partners that stepped up and said, I want to do this for my employees. So they sponsored boxes. We would send them to employees. We've actually delivered about 350,000 of these hygiene kits now in the last year. So it's just something that took off, and it was able to help us keep, be sustainable through this COVID time period. So over the last 12 years, since we started in 2009, we've actually distributed over 60 million bars of soap in 127 countries around the world. In addition, we've distributed over 5 million hygiene kits, and we diverted 22 million pounds of waste from landfill. And so we could not have done this without the help of our partners, the great, amazing hospitality partners that we have, and then the corporate partners that help us support, that support our programs. We also have amazing partners as far as the United Nations. We are actually we were the 23rd member of the United Nations Global Wash Cluster. So remember what I said at the beginning, it's water, sanitation, and hygiene. They actually have a committee that just comes together, and all they talk about is hygiene and water and sanitation projects around the world. And so we're actually part of that committee. We also serve, we had initiatives with the Clinton Foundation. We actually work with the CDC, and there's a lot of different programs around the world that we're involved in, and a lot of committees that we're involved in. So it's just part of our, continuing to be the global leader and working with some of the largest organizations in the world. And since 2009, we've actually seen a 60% decrease in the rate of the death rate of children under the age of 5. So that's something that we're very, very proud of. It's obviously not something Clean the World did on their own, but together with all the partners that are focused on hygiene, we can kind of contribute towards this number. So it's just a very big, thing for us, because obviously for us, we want to see that number just continue to increase as far as, eradicating basically the top two killers of children. So that's really important for us. And then, of course, we couldn't have done it without amazing partners. So these are some of the names, the partners that have worked with us, whether they're corporate partners, whether they're sponsors that have been part of our programming. You're going to see the largest organizations in the world that are engaging with Clean the World. And so as part of, our services back to these partners, we deliver impact reports. And so that's something that they can go and share with their customers about all the amazing work that they're doing, all the impact that they're making by aligning with Clean the World. And so basically anything that we do from a mission perspective, all of that impact gets delivered right back to our partners. So it's something that they're putting in their corporate, annual reports. They're talking from a corporate social responsibility. You'll hear that word a lot around, brand's responsibility basically to give back. And so these are some of the, organizations that'll be, you'll have us included in their boilerplates or in their annual reports. So that kind of gives you an idea of how it works. And as far as news, we've been on some of the largest news news channels in the world. Saving lives, obviously, it's a newsworthy topic. Hygiene, especially now with COVID, you're seeing it in the news all the time. So we've been, part of that. We're constantly interviewing. Sean has actually been in a lot of videos and been asked to be in a lot of, different publications. So it's definitely something from a marketing perspective. It's great from my end because I get to be kind of involved in a lot of these different things. And then, of course, with COVID, the need for water, sanitation, and hygiene became even more of the forefront as people, recognize that hand washing with soap is the best way to prevent this pandemic. So, our goal is to teach people about hand washing and the importance of hand washing, and it actually can cut the, rates in half as far as how that, as far as death rates and things by just using soap. And then this, of course, can completely stem the spread of illness. So it's something that's really important. It's something that we found important before COVID, but of course, now with COVID, it's even more important for us to talk about and to share that awareness. And in 2020, we actually distributed over 6 million bars of soap to emergency relief organizations, homeless shelters, and food pantries around the United States and then around the world as well. So we did about 3 million in the US and about 3 million abroad. And all of it was in response to the pandemic. So as soon as we started, getting hit with, reports and things that this was happening, we started immediately working with people on the ground to get this out as quickly as possible. So it's something that was very, very important to us. And again, we couldn't do it without partners that could help us support these programs. And this kind of gives, more in-depth as far as a Soap Saves Lives box. Like I mentioned before, it's a global, it's a at-home event that's globally. We have it across the world. It's something that you can engage in. There's a couple of examples of the organizations that actually worked with us: Amazon, Bacardi, AT&T, UPS. These were some that are on the forefront of this as kind of the pandemic hit, and we started this product launch. And really, ultimately, what it does is, you do it from the comfort of your home. You get family members or friends together. You build the kits, and then we can either send it directly to people right there in your neighborhood, or sometimes corporations will choose charities that they want to support. And so either way, you can either ship them back to us, or we can ship them straight to that charity. And these are just a few pictures, as you can see, of some of the, volunteers that actually experienced it. So it was very rewarding. We got a lot of great shares on social media, a lot of people very engaged with this process because they really felt like they were doing something. Even though they were quarantining and they were at their home, it was something that was engaging and fun. We encourage people to do things like play music, make note cards, put little other, put artwork on the outside of the boxes and things like that. So it's just overall engaging for our guests and volunteers. So Clean the World Foundation, as I mentioned before, that is the nonprofit organization side of our business. And so they are do way more than just deliver soap. So a lot of people think we do soap distribution and that's kind of all we do. But it's actually only about 15% of the work that Clean the World Foundation does. So this nonprofit, side of our business, we are dedicated, like I said before, to WASH, so water, sanitation, and hygiene. We want everyone to have universal and sustainable access to WASH, whether that is through hygiene products, whether that is to education to help them understand the, hand washing and things like that and the proper techniques, or just aid, as far as emergency relief, things like that. And then also we do the hygiene kits, which I mentioned before as well. And you can see there's actually over 7 programs that are involved under the Clean the World Foundation umbrella. One is that WASH infrastructure and education, like I mentioned before. Sometimes on the ground, we'll work with partners that are helping with clean water, things like that. So we do a lot of partnerships to just we'll bring in the soap distribution and hand washing education, and then we'll work with partners on the ground that are doing the water and wells and things like that. And that's kind of how we partner together with people. We also look at menstrual health. So that's another area from a hygiene perspective, a lot of at-risk communities or developing countries actually don't have the proper education for women as far as menstrual health and having the right supplies and things to protect themselves. And you'll see a huge increase in dropouts for young girls. They'll drop out of school early and things like that. So it's something that we definitely want to support. We also care a lot about women's microfinancing programs. So we'll actually work in local communities and actually help them set up their own businesses to either process soap in their local community to help support their local community, or the menstrual pads, things like that. So that's an important piece of what we do. Humanitarian emergency relief, I mentioned that before. We're always out there, in the community, especially here in Central Florida. You might hear us do a call for, people to come help build kits or something because of a hurricane or whatever. We're always out there trying to really deliver hygiene as much as we can. Mobile showers, which actually I'll talk a little bit more in just a minute, and then wash stations for the homeless, as well as water stewardship grants. So we actually sometimes work with corporate partners that want to actually support smaller nonprofit organizations. And so we'll act as the managing agent that will actually help deliver those funds to those water conservation projects just to kind of support them. And these are just a couple examples of our WASH education results. You'll see actually across the board, there was definitely a reduction in the rate of hygiene related illnesses when people were taught how to wash their hands properly and given access to products. One in India, we actually saw a 97% reduction in hygiene related illnesses. So it just shows that, education is in water and hygiene is very critical, especially for children. And so also, we are looking for behavior change. So that's something that we're constantly doing. We want to see, we'll do baseline studies at the beginning and kind of at the end to see how was that changed? Do these children actually wash their hands without being told? How do their parents do it? Are their parents doing it before meals and things like that? So it's really important to us as well. And emergency relief efforts, over 15 million people we've served globally. These are anything from the wildfires, disasters, tsunamis, hurricanes, you name it, as far as the type of relief that we'll give. And so it's something that's important to us and one of the major programs that we do as well. And as far as those wash stations, we actually recently started working with the CDC, especially once COVID hit, to actually deliver porta potties and hand washing stations for people that are experiencing homelessness. So we are actually, right now we're doing it in Southern Nevada, Central Florida, and Puerto Rico. So those are kind of the areas that we're looking at right now. but we're continuing to expand this into other markets. So, it's something that, these people, as you can imagine, they're not readily available to wash their hands or have areas with showers and things locally necessarily. So it's hard for them to get access to, being able to wash their hands or these hygiene products. So it's just something that we felt like was really important, especially to stop the spread of disease in the community. So that's something that we're working on. And our Fresh Start Wash and Wellness program, which is our mobile showers. So we actually, like I mentioned, we launched our first one in 2017 in Las Vegas. We've recently launched one actually in Orlando. So that was right around the end of the summer. It was in August time period. And we've already seen a huge number of people that have come out and actually use those showers. We've seen, we've actually provided over 25,000 showers total in those two different locations, distributed over 37,000 hygiene kits. And what we've found is that when we offer those showers, we go into these drop-in centers, that there's actually an increase in the traffic to those centers on the days that we're there. So we'll work with a local shelter organization that's doing, maybe they're delivering food or they have clothes or something like that. And we'll actually go out there, and then we see that traffic picks up because our showers are there. People are wanting to get multiple services. They're wanting to get a shower. And that really becomes kind of the connector to those organizations. So if they come out and they, get a shower, they feel good about themselves, they start to build relationships with you, and they feel more comfortable. And then that gets them to start getting services that they need. And it's really, really important, because ultimately the goal is actually to get them into housing. And so if we can get them out of the wooded areas, out of the encampment sites, and get them into services, then that helps them get housed in the long run. And so since we've started, we've seen a decrease in the homeless population in Las Vegas by 15%. So it's something that we're proud of and something that we want to continue to work on as well. And to give you a little bit more, details about this, so you can see kind of in the upper right-hand side, that's our very first one back in 2017. It was pulled by a semi truck. The one on the lower right is actually our new ones. We've made them a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to get into places, especially in Orange County, because we want to use them for emergency relief efforts and things like that. And what we do is we combine wash with wellness. So we're offering mobile showers, hygiene, education, overall cleanliness, and then we combine that with COVID testing, Hep A vaccination, illness prevention, things like that. And then we also work with service providers to offer wraparound services. So those are the things, like I mentioned, distributing clothing or food, things like that. So it's really important to us that a person gets a lot of services when we're out there. And it's made a huge impact already. It's just amazing to see kind of how this shower really impacts somebody that is living on the streets. It really gives them, that cleanliness to go in there, to be able to get a shower, to feel just for, 15 or 20 minutes, just kind of get out of the area that they're in, or just get out of the space they're in and just get a renewed mind. And so it's something that we've seen really change lives. And it's really important to us that, we're impacting people in this way. So I wanted to just share briefly a video for you. And so I'll switch here. All right, so I'm going to start this. Christian, let me know if you can see this.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, perfect.
A shower makes you feel good. It makes you feel rejuvenated. And oftentimes, and we've seen it hundreds of times, when somebody gets a shower, they just feel better.
The Fresh Start Wash and Wellness program is a completely self-sustained mobile hygiene unit that allows us to go anywhere at any time and provide showers to the homeless.
There are people who don't have access to showers who really would like to have access to showers.
Cleanliness is important. It's a lot to have one day a week that you can take a hot shower and, as opposed to a hose bath, which is what I was accustomed to.
Local municipalities have an obligation to serve their communities, especially for the at-risk, vulnerable populations. And the Fresh Start Wash and Wellness allows them to do it. It brings to the table in a 40-foot trailer 4 beautifully custom designed showers.
Clean, like brand new, state of the art.
And it's actually nicer than the shower at my house.
All we have to provide is a place for the trailer to park, and so it makes it really easy to partner with Clean the World, and it's also a great way to be able to serve our neighbors.
So we don't need water, we don't need power, we just need people.
When your time comes to take a shower, you're going to be handed a hygiene kit. That hygiene kit's going to include a bar of soap, shampoo, lotion, socks, and everything you're going to need in order to take a shower.
Before I got in the shower, I was filthy. Dirty from head to toe, and now I'm smelling like a foot. I need a shower real bad.
We provide them a toothpaste, toothbrush, and a little note, just giving them some hope.
And everyone was real kind, treated me like I was human, instead of some low-life, homeless person.
So you're going to go in and you're going to get a designated amount of time, maybe 20 minutes. You're going to be able to unwind. You're going to have security. It's going to be locked. Nobody's going to be able to come in, and you're going to be able to take a shower.
Many of them, those are the only 4 walls that they're going to see, that day. Many of them have told me they haven't showered in months.
Feels good, nice hot water. I'm homeless and I don't have no other place to take a shower. I appreciate it.
So after the shower, it motivated me. I felt like there was hope.
They feel loved. They feel the dignity of that shower. But they're also engaging with those service providers, those local agencies that are supported by the local municipalities. And they're starting to build a relationship. And they're starting to talk to them about the things that they need to get from homeless to homed.
To be able to bring all of these resources together on one campus really does serve people well.
Potentially that could be the day that they literally get a fresh start and maybe get a job.
Sometimes it takes a loving hand to reach out and take someone by the hand and walk them to help, because it's hard for them to reach out and find it for themselves.
Again, I don't know what it is about the shower. The shower has magic in it, and it's that magical moment of the shower that we have seen change lives.
All right, so that's kind of the end of my presentation, but I did want to talk a little bit about kind of marketing around this. So you kind of see now, what the programs and things that we're doing. From a marketing perspective, it's really, really important to tell the story. So for us, in order for us to really get the support that we need, which is support from corporate sponsors, from donors, individual donors, or corporations that want to sponsor our programs, it's really important for them to understand kind of how we're using the money that's coming into our organization, what's the impact that they're going to make, and really be transparent. And so, when you talk about nonprofit marketing, those are really the keys. And we talk about, we have a philosophy at Clean the World, we say ask, thank, report, repeat. So asking is really asking for the donation, asking for the support, thanking them for actually supporting them or supporting us, and then reporting on that. And so really reporting on that impact that is being made, how those dollars are being spent, what program it went to support, how many people did we serve, what is the impact, how many bars of soap did we distribute, how many children did we support from a wash perspective, how many showers did we give, things like that. And so my job as a marketing person is to tell that story. And we find that it's much more impactful if you tell it with a person, if they can actually feel that, like you saw with the video, Oren actually is somebody that he went from the very first day the showers opened, he got a shower, and about 2 or 3 months later, he's now housed. He's in a permanent housing. So for us, telling his story was really impactful, because you can see really how this one program really changed that life. And it really did change the life. That's the wonderful part of working for the company that I work for, is that the work that I do actually affects people in a positive way. So that's super exciting. But I just wanted to share that, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have about just overall marketing, challenges around marketing and all of that. So I'll kind of open it up to anybody's questions.
So I want to start off. I have a question, Sandie. So I was wondering if you can speak a little bit to this specific thing that I thought about recently. So when I was given an assignment early on in terms of like my internship, I had a realization that when it comes to customer and consumer, clean the world, those are two separate entities, right? So our customers are often the hospitality partners, or anybody that's technically, like when we apply for a grant or anything, and our consumer itself are the people that we service, the communities in need. So what kind of challenges do you face, or what kind of mindset do you have to get in to be able to, it seems like you have to do marketing in two aspects: getting the word out about to the consumer, but then also trying to find partners, trying to find that. So I was wondering if you can speak more
Absolutely.
on that.
So it's actually a challenge in a number of ways. So first of all, it's a challenge just from a nonprofit side, right? So you have your donors, you have your partners that's supporting you, you have your corporations, you have the people you're serving, you have service providers. So you have the non-government agencies that you're working with. And so you kind of have to be, all things to all people. And it's a little challenging, especially with all of the intellectual property. So think about your website. How do you formulate your website? What audience do you speak to? And so you kind of have to be all things to all people. And that becomes a little bit challenging. But I'll even take that one step further. At Clean the World, it's even more complicated because I don't have just a nonprofit side with a bunch of different types of audiences. I have a for-profit side with a bunch of different types of audiences. And so it's something that you're constantly making sure that you are delivering the right message at the right time to the right person. That's really key. Our website has to be all things to all people. It has to explain what is the for-profit, what's the nonprofit. A lot of people don't understand. So if you go to cleantheworld.org, you'll actually see it splits into two different things. It'll have the for-profit side that'll talk about products and services. And it's a lot of the speak is going to be more around the product and services we provide to corporations. So how does a hospitality, partner participate in our program? How does a corporate, our corporate entity do team building events or things like that? So it's going to be more corporate speak. On the nonprofit side, it's going to be all about transparency. It's going to be all about impact, all the programs that we're delivering, things like that. So it's really, really important to do that. We also have individual donors and individual consumers. So for Soap Saves Lives boxes, a consumer that is just like you can go onto our website and order a Soap Saves Lives box and do it from their home. So we have that person. We also, and then, in addition to that, you have corporations that are doing it for their employees. So again, you got to kind of make sure your messaging works for both audiences. So it is definitely challenging.
Thank you so much. And in the chat, everybody, please feel free to write any questions that you may want to ask Sandie. But we have a question in here so far, and it's from Carmen. Carmen wants to know, how does marketing for a social enterprise differ from a traditional corporation?
Good question. So from a social enterprise, like I talked about earlier, the whole point of a social benefit corporation is to serve the community, right? So it is impact, it is social impact. So again, it goes back to a corporation is mainly going to be talking about how does their give back program support the local community in the sense of, I am a corporation like we'll use Amazon as an example. I'm a corporation like Amazon, and they may have different pillars. They may say, I want to support homelessness. I want to support youth education, and I want to support, give back from the environment perspective, right? So if you go on their website, they're going to talk about all those different people or all those different programs that they're supporting, usually with nonprofit organizations, to support those programs. So from an environmental perspective, they may be talking about all the sustainability practices that they do, both at their location, but also they're supporting something for a water conservation project or something like that. And so that's kind of the typical corporate world, right? It's corporate social responsibility, CSR. It's something you could search for and look for and learn more about. From a social enterprise perspective, a benefit corporation, we are that corporation that's giving that social impact. So for our perspective, what we are trying to do is get sponsors to support those programs and partners to support those programs. So it's really important that we're transparent. We talk about the impact and that we share that impact back to those corporate sponsors, because ultimately we want them to be able to share it with their consumers. And so that's an important piece of it.
Thank you very much. I have another question in here from Blaze. They would like to know, what is the hardest thing about getting support for programs like these?
That's a good, that's hard. It's a good question. I think probably one of the hardest things is just the storytelling aspect of it. You have to be very sensitive to it. As far as telling somebody's story, you definitely don't want to exploit anyone. You want to make sure that you're telling that you have permission to tell their story. But everybody wants to know kind of how your money is going, where your money is going, and they really want that personalized experience. They want to know that woman that you're supporting, or that local child that has access to soap and things like that. So you have to kind of be careful of that. It can become challenging. The other thing is too, we found at Clean the World, we do get our name out there a lot in the local press. So we're some of the largest publications in the world. Your CNNs, People Magazine, things like that. And sometimes people think that because you're on those things, you don't need financial support. So we're sometimes struggling with that too. We still do need that support, and we still need those people to really support our programs, because that's the only way that we can actually get these programs into kind of the end user, is through those government dollars or corporate dollars as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna be taking over the questions from Christian.
Okay.
So we got, I'm Gabriella, by the way. We got another question from Jacob, and he is asking, what are your biggest challenges in choosing each specific location to give aid?
That's interesting. Okay, so I don't know that it's really a challenge. It's more based on need. So it's not necessarily a challenge. It's based on need. Things that we might run into is, for one, you have to make sure from a marketing perspective that you're being very sensitive to cultures. So understanding what that individual culture is in that market, as far as communicating and things like that, you want to make sure that you're following those guidelines and that you understand and localize your communication. From a program perspective, it's based on, do we have people on the ground that can help us facilitate? We don't just go into a market and drop soap off and we're done. We have to have the infrastructure there to be able to support the program. So we want to make sure we have boots on the ground, as we like to say, whether that's a Children's International, World Vision, or somebody that's actually going to help us facilitate that program. So it really, really depends on those partnerships, actually. And being part of the UN Global WASH Cluster has really helped us, because it's opened up a lot of doors on those areas.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Education is so important, especially like when they don't know how important hygiene is.
Definitely.
Sorry, Gabby. Yeah, again, please feel free to drop questions in here. Sandie, I have another question for you. When it comes to telling the story, it feels like there are two aspects to it. There's like the metrics portion of it. How much did we do? What was the impact? And then there's also the stuff that you can't measure. For example, I've volunteered at the mobile shower units, and I can't put a number on seeing somebody walk out of the trailer with a smile on their face and feeling like a complete different person. So how do you balance, specifically when you're talking to a different audience, what they might be interested in? So when you're looking for partners or when you're trying to get the word out, how do you balance, well, what will help me tell this story the best?
So you really want to make sure that you're doing a little bit of both. You'll see kind of in the way that our voices are for the benefit corporation versus the nonprofit organization. So nonprofit side is more academic. They're global health leaders. So it's more around the education of not only the people we're serving, but also the public, to let them understand hand washing is important or hygiene is important, talking about it from an academic perspective, but also then delivering those impact statistics. So understanding, we've done 60 million bars of soap, and these are how many hygiene kits we've done. These are how many people we're serving, things like that. So those statistics are important. We find that typically the consumers or sponsors are more interested in kind of the mission side storytelling aspect of it. So you kind of have it's important to be transparent in your impact numbers, transparent with the dollars and the things that we're doing, with those dollars, but then also have those storytelling mixed in. So that's kind of why I said was a little bit of a challenge, because you want to make sure you're not exploiting anyone. You want to make sure you've got permission to tell those stories. And it's sometimes hard to find those stories, especially if you're supporting somebody that's 1,000 miles away. To be able to have that storytelling is sometimes hard. So we really depend on our partner to really help us do that.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So we have another question from Paula, and she's asking, how do you find the best way to balance statistics with storytelling when marketing?
So that it's a fine balance for sure. Like I said, you just have to have a little bit of both. So there's not really a set number or set goal. I think it's just important to tell the story in a different way. So one of the things we do is we'll do video. So you just saw the video that we just did on the Fresh Start Wash and Wellness. So that's a great way to kind of tell the story of the program itself, going through, and it's an emotional connection that you get, right? So it's a more personalized. You feel like, okay, I can really relate to this person that's just like me, that maybe was homeless and now, got a shower and is on their way to having a home. So from that perspective, that's that storytelling emotional side, but then you might include that on a landing page that has 3 or 4 statistics around this is what we've done since 2017. And so it's a mixture of both, but you have to do it in a way that's not in your face. You got to kind of it's subtle, but definitely something that's important to mention. And so you'll kind of see that if you look on some of our, examples on our landing pages and stuff, you'll see kind of an example of both offering. And of course, from a digital perspective, you want to make sure you're reaching a lot of different audiences, and people learn in different ways. So you want to offer a wide range of types of media, whether that's video, infographics, content, social media, things like that.
Okay, thank you. I had actually a question. It's kind of obvious, but how could we volunteer? I know with COVID, things are a little difficult right now. So you were talking about the soap boxes, and Christian also volunteered at the showering station. Are there any other ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the easiest ways right now is like the Soap Saves Live boxes. If you go to cleantheworld.org/soap saves lives, you'll actually see more information about the program. And there's a button that says order here. So you just go on there, you order your box, have it delivered to your local, location, whatever address that you want it delivered to. And then you could actually choose the charity you want to support. So if it could be something that you drop off at your local church, it could be something, within your community that you want to support, or even handing them out to the homeless, you could do that as well. So it's really up to you. As far as volunteering, we actually had regular volunteering hours before COVID, and it's something we definitely want to go back to once everything is kind of safe again. Hopefully, this next year or the end of this year, we can get back to that again. And that's actually just on our website. You go to cleantheworldfoundation.org, and there's a volunteer section, and you can sign up for a shift. We usually do like 3-hour shifts. You can come, sometimes it's building hygiene kits, sometimes it's helping us sort the soap products in our warehouse. It just really depends. And that's also something that we're looking at for the Fresh Start Wash and Wellness program as well. So it's something we'll probably be opening up back when everything kind of gets back to normal again, hopefully, the new normal. And so that's something you definitely can be part of. So I would say, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us through cleantheworld.org. And that's something that we can always provide you more details about.
Yeah, the boxes seem very useful right now. I've actually volunteered before at your facility before COVID, and it was such a fun experience sorting all the soap, and then you get to see like the filtering going on right next to you. It was a fun experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate you volunteering your time. That's great.
Hello, Sandy. I actually had a question. I work in downtown Orlando where there is a multitude of homeless people. And my question is how do you get the word out about the sanitation stations to the homeless? Because it's not like you can post something. Is there like a flyer that you do or people on the ground? I was just curious.
That's a fantastic question and definitely challenging. So we do a little bit of both. We actually do flyers. So we'll actually go out. We have a team that goes out and they'll hand out flyers there. A lot of times they'll be either in the woods or encampments sites. And so we'll go out and actually hand out flyers and say, this is the location we're going to be. So that's the first thing. We also work with the Continuum of Care, COC in Orange County. So it's a group of basically like-minded partnerships, or nonprofit organizations that were working together to serve the homeless community. And we'll go down there. They're very aware that we have showers. We let them know our, locations and our service location, our kind of schedule. And then they'll make referrals. So they'll say, hey, if you want a shower, Clean the World is going to be at this location or that location. The big key part of that, though, is offering a consistent schedule. So once we kind of decide, okay, this is the location we're going to be there every Monday from 2 to 5. And that way the homeless population could really learn, okay, on Monday they're here, on Tuesday they're there. And that's also part of building that relationship with them. We want them to feel like they can trust us, depend on us, things like that. So that's kind of the key. But yeah, you are right. It is a little bit challenging, but just flyers, as much as you can, letting people, local areas know, local partners, things like that.
And a second part to that question. So do you target partners that are involved with a high homeless population area? So like I would think if I was that company, I would be talking to everybody downtown Orlando because we could see the effect of what homeless actually does because they're all over, So do you
Yes,
target centralized areas with partners that deal directly with homeless?
we do. So that's all part of that continuum of care as well. So most everyone is involved that's serving the unhoused population. They're mostly part of the COC. So we build relationships with partners locally. Now there is actually another organization that does also do mobile showers down in downtown area. They do it as well. So for us, it's great because we're both delivering the impact. And so we'll find that they kind of service the downtown area. We're servicing the greater Orange County area, but there's definitely a lot of need. So, agree with you 100%. But we do a lot of times when we kind of look for partners, we're looking for them that also offer those services because we find that if somebody is going to hand out food, for instance, we'll get a lot more people that day and it'll be a higher traffic area. And so that's where we'll stick the showers because we want to get as many, showers as possible. And so we find that we also align ourselves with people that are delivering those services as well. And so that's kind of a combination of both. Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone else has any more questions, please leave it in the chat or feel free to open your mic and ask Sandie.
Hi, Sandie. So I used to intern with a social enterprise accelerator and kind of work in the startup space in Orlando. And my question was, how do you guys kind of like partner with other social enterprises, or do you kind of participate in accelerators or kind of like any kind of competition, or like how do you kind of foster that next generation of social enterprise growth?
That's a great question too. So we actually are part of what's called Rally. They're an accelerator program. Actually, my founder and CEO is actually part of that program. He sits on the board of that program. We also sometimes work with local officials and things that are part of those programs. So a lot of it is sitting on boards of different organizations that are part of that. We actually also have a program called SEEP. It's a social entrepreneurship enrichment program. It's actually something that we do through, actually UCF has participated in it. And it's something for college students that they can go on and learn more about social entrepreneurship. We do that. We also do have a lot of internship programs. So we are very much love social entrepreneurs. And so, if you're that type of person that's interested in having your own social enterprise, we love you to be part of our organization. And so internships, we talked about in ways to engage with Clean the World. That's definitely one of the ways you can engage. And so they're all across different departments. So if it's something you're interested in, get with Christian, because Christian, kind of knows how to get involved. And we're definitely welcome, all of the brilliant minds that are coming up with all these wonderful ideas for social, entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Christian,
much,
would you
Sandie.
like to share a little bit about your internship with Clean the World? And so Sandie can also talk a little bit about it too.
Oh, can you repeat that? I started talking right when you started talking, so I didn't catch the beginning of that. Repeat that one more time.
Yeah, I was asking if you wanted to share a little bit about your internship so that Sandie could also shed some light on what it is that you do at Clean the World.
Awesome. So I'll first tell everybody how I got to meet Sandie. And it's really just the power of finding people that you think are interesting on LinkedIn and connecting with them. Last semester when we were looking for guest speakers to come and speak with us, Grant told me to message Sandie. So my original intent was to just invite her to come and speak. But she let me know that there was a marketing internship opportunity, and we spoke like 2 days later, had an interview, and that was that. So if you're on LinkedIn as a student, I highly encourage, find some UCF alums, find people that work in the places that you really enjoy, and just message them. So I went ahead and I did that, and I was able to join beginning of the semester. I did not know what to expect. This was my first internship, but I've been able to learn a lot. Now, the one thing I will say is I feel like the company, we roll at 100 miles an hour. I feel like there's always something new, a new partner that we're talking to, a new event, a new campaign that we're taking care of. So a lot of the things that I've done has been learning as I go. But at the same time, I've always had a great support system between Sandie and Christina, which is the marketing manager that I report to. But I've done everything from writing to research to I'm the one that posts for Clean the World on LinkedIn. So it's been a great opportunity thus far. If you ever see anything from them, if you ever see them post that they're actively looking for interns, I highly encourage you to apply, because I've heard stories of people working at internships and they mainly get desk work or little things like that. I feel very hands-on in the things that I do, and so far I really enjoy it. But I don't know if Sandie, if you wanted to mention anything of that. That was just like my review of the internship, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's wonderful about our organization is that, believe it or not, and we are a global organization, but we're a very small organization. So there's only about 50 people that work in our organization, and we manage all these global programs. So actually in our marketing team, there's only 3 of us. So when you're interning with us, you're getting hands-on experience from us directly. Christian has been so awesome. We love having him on the team. And he's actually been part of all of our team meetings. So he's not just working with marketing people, he's working with product developers, he's working with technology people. He's on some, the corporate, products and things that we're working on with our CEO. There's a lot of exciting things that he can be part of. And so that's the great part about it. The other part about it is we're completely flexible with your schedules. So, you can, especially now, everybody's virtual. So pretty much you're on Teams with us, you can, be part of those team meetings and things like that. And I saw, I don't know if there was a question about what types of interns, is that right? So I can answer that question as well. So there's internships across the entire organization. So we have a lot of marketing opportunities, but we also have graphic design opportunities. There is product development. So if you're interested in actually developing products and programs, we have interns in our HR department. We have interns in the business side. So if you're interested in accounting or something like that, sales, business development, operations, like you name it, they're pretty much, you can work in any aspect of the organization that you want. There's internships available.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And if nobody has any more questions, this is like final call for them. In the meantime, Sandie, I thank you so much for joining us. It was such a valuable experience for us. And is there any way how can we keep in touch with you? How can we connect with Clean the World?
Absolutely. So you're welcome to go on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, connect with me. just let me know that you were, part of this discussion. I'd love to connect with you. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Even Christian, he can get in contact with me. So thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I'd love to, if you have any other questions, I'd love to have, answer any questions you have. And I'll stay on for just a minute just to make sure. But thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very, very much. Awesome. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share some information with some of the people that are in this Zoom call. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. And boom. So for the people that have your cams on, can I get a thumbs up to make sure you're looking at a PowerPoint? Amazing. So essentially, we are the American Marketing Association at UCF. If you're interested on becoming a member, you would have to register nationally. It's a $29 fee. Then you pay a $20 chapter fee to amaucf@gmail.com. And then you have the opportunity, if you'd like to register for the Orlando section of AMA UCF. After you do all of this, you just simply send us an email of your receipt over to ama@ucf@gmail.com. Our team will then add you to our email list, and you'll get an invitation to join our private group me chat. And there we post all kinds of resources, anything from internship opportunities to like cool files that we find and stuff like that on there. So these are our socials for you to stay in touch with us. But more importantly, if you have any questions, reach out to us. I know we're very active on Instagram as well as email, so we can get a response over to you. And I just wanted to let you know on Thursday, April 8th, we'll be hosting an SEO workshop. It'll be Grant and myself. So if you're very curious about search engine optimization and kind of understanding the basics of it, we'll be happy to run you through a small crash course about it. So I'm going to be sending in the chat a Google form. And for those of you that have GEB questions, this is how you're going to be receiving your points. So give me 1 second. Oh, also, yes, find us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Naya, for messaging that in the chat. So, all right, hopefully this is the right Google form. Yeah, I think it is. Boom. So go ahead and sign in here. Fill out the form for us. The color of the day is green. That is for your attention check. As soon as you do that, you're more than welcome. You're able to sign out. Just to set the expectation, as soon as we receive everything, we should be emailing you in 24 to 48 hours with a confirmation email saying that you attended this event. And that's what you'll need for your GEB points. So again, the color of the day today is green. Yep. Let me see. Yeah, green is an option. Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing for now. In the meantime, it looks like Sandie's still here. If anybody has any last minute questions. Thank you so much for staying by. James, today the color of the day is green. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Look at that. Look at us for looking out for each other.
Hello, Christian. I had a question about AMA in general. When do you guys meet? Is this your regular meeting time or?
Yeah, so we will normally host events Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. But the events could be different. Sometimes we'll have guest speakers. Sometimes it's just social and we'll just be hanging out. Other times that'll be workshops. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, typically at 6. But if you ever want to know exactly what we're doing on what day, I recommend you follow us on our socials so you can kind of stay on top of our calendar.
Do you guys ever have people come in and talk about businesses that they're working with their friends or businesses of friends that you guys come in and like maybe come as a team of like, oh, how to optimize a business? Do you guys ever work on those type of things? Or are they more of just like informational meetings?
It'll never, because it sounds kind of like somebody has a business, they come in, present a problem, and we all just kind of talk about it. Is that?
Yeah,
kind of
more
the-
or less. Like if because I have a couple friends that they're all starting businesses up like that. I'm finance and marketing. I like finance a little bit more, but so like on
What?
the marketing aspect, I always have like general questions. So I was wondering if you guys do any like business talk about like say like if obviously have a business and they have questions and stuff like that. Do you
Yeah.
help out other students that have businesses?
So as of right now, in terms of like events, I don't believe we have. The events are informational. So
Okay.
come in, yeah. If you have a need and we're talking about it, come in and learn, right? But we don't have an event that's like that. That sounds more kind of like a master class a little bit, right? Like we'll be sharing ideas, but at the same time, I know that there's opportunities for members to help as of right now, I believe it's just other RSOs at UCF. But I can talk to the person in charge and try to see if they'd be open to maybe like if you have a marketing question, then to direct that at us. As of right now, that's not really a service that we offer, but that sounds very interesting, and I think I would enjoy that myself. So if you want, can you actually send us an email, amaucf@gmail.com, pose that same exact question so I can have that person reach out to you. Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Amazing event, Sandie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Great. Did you have any questions for us about anything?
No.
No? Cool. Cool.
Thank you. I really loved it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time, Sandie.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.